It's always tough though. We've cast lots and lots of these now, and you see people go all the way through to the the winners bracket final, and then you go okay, and they lose, and then they lose straight on again. Is that going to be the case here? Well, let's find out, shall we?
And I see Magpie coming in with the raid as well. Thank you very much, Magpie. Good luck with your games. Can't wait to see them in action. So,
yeah, I hope we get to cast you later.
Okay, it's exactly what we thought here with Pajabol going for stockpile on blue. Makes sense. Draws a Neuromancy, which is very important if you want to play that muted generator. It's always horrible if you don't draw it, but there we see it in hand anyway. So starting off very talented with the draws, I see.
Very much so, albeit PuzzleExpress, I can see the Arcane Tome in hand. More than willing to use Arcane Tome to find that Heat Wave if you need to answer that early, potentially. And are we going to see it? Paya not messing around. We all know turn 1 for this list. Are we going to see PuzzleExpress allow this carryover generation or not? That's the big question here.
Yes, right, because you can of course deny muted generator, but we have also seen in the past how players just don't care and they go down all the way to 4 cards so they can get the most out of muted generator. That is an option, but we'll see what the players decide here.
I think he's going to do it.
Oh dear gosh.
But do you Nero into it as well to guarantee the Neromancy? I think you do. I think you take a Neromancy here and then you Heatwave. And I'm adamant this is right. This is... You would never... 6 weeks ago, nobody is imagining this is a viable strategy, but
I love it.
I actually think it's correct.
I mean, that is one of the main archetypes in this deck. If you get rid of Muted Generator, you get rid of all that carryover, all that tempo. Now, instead, Pajabol is going to be more reliant on his artifact, his siege, as well as Henselt being perhaps a short point slam turn at the very end. Now it's going to be quite essential to try and gain round control here, I'd say, because PuzzleExpress has some options up his sleeve. He doesn't have Feign Death. He does have Simlas. Doesn't really have Vanadayan either, actually. So PuzzleExpress really just used everything he had there. If Pajabol can see his hand, he knows he's actually secured round 1 if he keeps going for it.
Very much so, although you've got to be careful. His 2 big power plays obviously can never ever give that Henselt here. He's got Siege, he has Henselt for the short round, and you can see him really pushing there, using that Arcane Tome and actually giving it back, saying, you know what, I want to win this round, because as you mentioned, it is not going to be good. PuzzleExpress, not worried at all, plays a 0-point card here effectively for now and just says, no worries.
Yeah, and we see Radovid coming down there, giving it an extra charge.
Boost it? He does. Well done.
Does boost it, so it's out of killing range. We're going to see another charge coming down now. So at least Pajabol is guaranteed a very strong Henselt, even potentially in a short round with all of those charges. They can be quite deadly if you play them at the right moment. And I think that's what Pajabol is going to try and do now, seeing that Muted Generator is completely out of the picture.
Yeah, and still playing here, deciding, this isn't over yet. I'm going to go a little bit further, threaten that I can continue here. Nice Archer dealing with one of the engines quite swiftly. Always a bonus. Has a little time to play here if choosing, but as you meant, that hand is awkward. And Pajabol not playing those Echo cards for fear of a potential squirrel probably will try and avoid doing that as well.
Yeah, even that Waylay is rather awkward, isn't it? Because if Vanadayan's played now, the shuffling's going to have to be different, seeing that Alyssa is only going to put back 2 into the deck. So you have an awkward Simlas in hand that can go for something else entirely if PuzzleExpress wants to change his strategy, perhaps. But no, we see Pajabol being in a comfortable position here, has 2 tutors in hand, can pull anything he needs from his deck right now. Anything up until the point he reaches Henselt as his last card.
Yeah, for sure. He's in a position here. He will, as you say, he will keep playing. Doesn't ideally want to use this. And is that going to encourage a squirrel? It's risky. Squirrel, the hand doesn't allow you to play the squirrel here. That's so much tempo, and picking AA there is sensible, because if you see the AA, if you see this squirrel here, it's only playing for 4. And PuzzleExpress, quite rightly, I think, has to take the pass there. Won't be happy, would have loved to be able to get rid of that second one, but here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, it simply wasn't an option, was it? So, Pajabol now has round control. He is in a comfortable position. We see PuzzleExpress drawing into Vanadayan, something he needs as well to set up his cards. Now, is Pajabol
Oh,
going to
definitely.
attempt to bleed here? Is it going to go into a longer round 3? There are quite a few options here at his disposal. I just know the shorter the round with Henselt, the more you pack a punch. But so is the same for Vanadayen. Instead, we do see a push here with Artifact coming onto the board. Not even taking 2 seconds to think about it.
Yeah, and I completely understand that. And I'd expect it to be answered in kind. It is going to be scenario v scenario here. If you're going to try and bleed me, I am going to try and resist that with all that I've got. Not surprised at all to see that option going forward. And there's a lot of... Oh, that's not ideal. But he didn't want to play the Henselt in this round anyway. Just wants to create enough space that he can keep himself safe in this round. But that is your Henselt target most of the time.
Yeah, of course, because it has Zeal, so pulling it out with Henselt allows you to use all the leader charges at once. Well, it does depend what he's trying to do in this round, at least. Yeah, like you said, I don't think one wants to play Henselt right now. Though it could be a nice test to see if PuzzleExpress has all the cards in hand. It could be sort of a bluff, if you will, going all out now with Henselt.
It could well be. Now, a bit of a situation for PuzzleExpress here. If he plays an elf, he's in an awkward spot, and I absolutely like this. He's played Maxi, because if he plays an elf, he triggers his scenario, that's fine, but he knows the next turn he's getting potentially board wiped or losing a lot of that elf value. Instead, chooses to take the Maxi here. We have no idea if he just shuffled or not, and I was too busy talking to see what he's drawing into, but is trying to put himself in a situation where he can retain some of the value.
I mean, Payabol's not in a bad position here because he played his artifact before PuzzleExpress, and doing that allows you to board wipe before your opponent is able to set up their cards. Now, elves are not so reliant on many cards on the board as siege engines are reliant on many on the board to pull off that bombardment, but still, he's in a very comfortable position, and really there's no point in just passing here.
Yeah, it depends on what gets dropped on the board. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Dolbethana Bowman in the back row. It's a slow play, but it will spawn 2 others as well. Will Pyre sense blood here? He doesn't really want to drop the Vanadane. He wants that to stick on the board after Pyre maybe passes. A shorter round, pretty beneficial. Yeah, this is exactly what I would have done here. Is Pyre now going to play this in a spot where the boiling oil makes sense? You can effectively board wipe again here.
You sure can.
Or as good as.
Well, let's see. He's thinking about it, that's for sure. He is going to waste a little bit of points by playing the boiling oil. 2 points at least. He has the option of playing something else. Doesn't have to commit Henselt. Could play something else.
No, I don't think he will. Still try. He uses his charge.
All right.
I would expect him to... Yeah, there we go. And there we go again.
Very nicely done. Ahead by 18 points here.
Has to be the trigger here, and you're going to shuffle away. It's a bit of... You would ideally, you'd have loved to use that squirrel here. What? Did he just accidentally discard?
Accidentally.
He's not intentionally...
You assume a player at this level accidentally discarded the card?
I don't think he would intentionally play a squirrel for 0 points, but maybe I'm wrong when he could have discarded something.
Let's be honest, it would have been a 0-point squirrel anyway.
But it would have gotten rid of the Aneromancy for the next round.
Yeah, I'm not sure at all what just happened. Unfortunately, we don't have access. He's discarding.
And maybe he's trying to say... Maybe he's trying to... Okay, it's not accidental. He is Pireballing Pireball here. He is Pireballing Pireball and saying, you know what? I'm not going to give you a target here. That's very interesting. Pyre going all in, saying, okay, I'll go for the 2-0. This is brave.
Wow. Okay, here we go. I mean, according to my South African mathematics, this appears to be a potential 2-0. We do still have Vanadayen, but Simlas isn't going to be playing any... No, this is a 2-0. This is a 2-0 for sure.
Is it?
It has to be.
It's a lot of points.
I mean, Vanadayen gives one waylay. One waylay.
No, Vanadayen gives no
you get the
waylays.
Second...
You don't want the waylay. You get that and it procs the scenario. He doesn't transfer any of them, and then he pulls the ones that are remaining in the deck out from Simless and gets double value. It's not... It can't be enough, right? This feels like a really strange line from PuzzleExpress, but
well,
maybe he had a different read.
if you play Vanadain, it replaces Sumlas with the Waylay, right?
You can choose it to, but you can tell it not to.
Well,
So he'll
that's
just
just a
say,
sad
he'll just confirm
Vanadain.
choice and not pick it. But it will also auto-prop from the scenario, so it will give you one instantly.
Can't be enough. There's no way it's enough.
That spawn in the back row is not ideal either.
No.
Red is deciding, so he's only got one Waylay in deck as well, because he played one earlier. Yeah, this is... Yeah... I'm not sure about this. It's an interesting strat, maybe reading perhaps a slightly worse hand on Pyre's side. If he had the 2 Waylays, was this...
No, it's simply not enough. Let's see. 2 Waylays would have been 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18.
It would have been close.
It would have been a lot closer.
But...
Yeah, that was rather confusing. I'm not sure either whether there was a discarding involved. I could see if it was switched.
That's big for Pyre, though.
Yeah, and you didn't want to play your... let's say it was switched and Pajabol was discarding, so the Waylays didn't have targets. That's something completely different, right? But I also don't understand why the cards were simply thrown into the graveyard directly.
Yeah, I mean, it would if Pyre decides to push and go all in there, it wouldn't have changed the situation. Maybe he's saying, I feel like I need to convince you that I can't catch you and take a tempo pass on that basis, because I don't feel like I can get out here and hopefully you'll sort of take the bait on that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I think even if he plays those cards, obviously their value disappears, right? Pyre had to self-damage quite a lot of times to get value out of that leader ability as well. Because he was trying to make sure that Henselt kept growing, which, as a result, he's damaging, okay, mostly armor off his own units, but not exclusively. Interesting line. Took a spicy option. Didn't go well. Pyre will be very, very happy to get that list through, especially when one of the key parts of it was quite in threat against this. So
it started off interestingly.
That's pretty big for him, right?
Right. I mean, it started off very interestingly with Pajabol getting his meter generator heatwaved. Like, this is not something we see every day, yet it happened. And perhaps that played a bit of a role, the fact that a Neuromancy was used to get heatwave, to get rid of meter generator, whereas it could be used to maybe play something like Vanadain in round 1. Instead...
Game 2 starting.
Alright, instead used for something else entirely different. Okay, it is not a mirror match. In fact, it's 2 very opposite Skellige decks, but it's going to be exciting nonetheless. So, PuzzleExpress going first with Reckless Flurry, Pajabol going with Self-Wound Skellige.
Open decklist Gwent in a tournament. I love to see it. Oh, although that actually does play into PuzzleExpress's hands massively. That is one less card that has to be worried about thinning.
Oh, yes.
Will feel very good. Not surprised to see him take this list. I think PuzzleExpress will really have wanted to win that first game, not just because it's a great situation to be in, but also that was the one that might have been the toughest to get through with the list. So Pyre's going to be pretty happy right now.
Oh, for sure. Hey, Pyre's always happy. Pyre's a champ. But
surprised at the mulligan. A lot of the time, obviously, people would think Ceres is a brick. I'm of the opinion a lot of the time in round 1, I tend to hold Ceres so that you can keep the value for that round 2, as it almost inevitably comes out in round 1, and you don't always want that. I love that they've... Okay, that was... I thought he clicked then on the Vial of Forbidden Knowledge. I was like, you have the deck list. What are you doing? No, it's just Maxi for tempo. Remember, this is an Erendite list. Wants as much value as possible, but hasn't drawn Coral.
Has not drawn Coral. And yes, like you said, PuzzleExpress choosing this list specifically on blue coin because Erendite's in hand and Erendite wants to have more points on their side of the board at all times. So now Pajabol has the option of playing quite a few cards here. He has a tutor, he has almost all of his good cards in hand. He has Fukusha already, Restore, Knut, Sigvald. Almost too good a hand, but not really. You also have a lot of potential ways of getting cards back from the graveyard. And hey, winning on even here, maybe even getting Erendite to be a brick, that would be the most ideal option if it's possible.
It would, but I don't think this hand does it. I think Pyre's gonna... He has to start slow here. Does have a Neuromancy, but a little bit awkward. Some cards that he certainly could play, but not necessarily the order of the gold you want. Does have access to that Melusine, but also knows an answer exists to Melusine. With enough damage, you have to wait to play that Melusine, because it's stealable and heat waveable, right? In this matchup. A little bit scary.
Very scary. Yeah, Melusine needs protection, or else Melusine doesn't survive, and I don't think it is going to survive. Not with something like Heatwave, even something like Muzzle combined with the leader ability of Reckless Flurry is going to make for a very sad Melusine. You're going to have to rely on some of your other engines to get by in a matchup like this one. PuzzleExpress stacked up on his control options, that is for sure.
Yeah, very much so. We'll be very happy with them, and has, in my opinion, a more playable round one hand, as well as having the answers. Is this a Nero from Pyre? No, probably the it's probably playing Maxi as well, right? Slow playing and getting out of the round, maybe.
Well, let's see. Yeah, also Maxi. So not really setting up anything. Potentially looking to get out of the round.
Yeah, does get the knickers thin. Doesn't help, and you can see this Erendite for PuzzleExpress just growing and growing and growing. Okay, that's not too bad. Probably going to get rid... Yeah, that makes sense, of the bronze. Huge amount of points ahead. Pyre has to play a card here, but at least we'll feel safe knowing you're not going to get tempo passed on that basis, because the more turns, the better, right? Is he going to drop the Melusine here?
I mean, if you're going to take a chance and hope Heatwave isn't in hand, it's going to be round one, right? Let's see what Puzzle does. Maybe it's not the most obvious option we see being used. Hey, Heatwave can get rid of some other cards as well. Oh, leader is so much commitment, isn't it?
If he can hit that and get it, he has to find 3 hits on it, and it's a lot to give, right? It's a lot to give if you don't get it, especially when, I suppose it ignores armor, so the boat isn't a threat, but...
I don't want to see leader being used here in round one. There we go, that's far better. Heatwave on Melusine. Melusine out of the game. So now only have to focus on the other engines, mainly Knut and Sigvald. Also have a restore, of course. But yeah, Knut, Sigvald and Ceres, a deadly combination.
Certainly can be. And that Ceres now not going to have as much self-damage, obviously only... Actually, I don't think armor counts towards Ceres's ping, so 0 right now. Ceres is still on 9 ticks needed, if I'm not mistaken here. And if your Pyre knows he doesn't really want to get out of this round, but may also just not have an option here.
I mean, you're going to have to commit quite a bit here if you wanted to get ahead on Payables, and then most of those cards aren't worth committing right now. So, yes, passes on 7 cards, goes into the next round. I'm pretty sure that PuzzleExpress is happy with that. Having blue coin into the next round means he has the potential to smork. That would allow him to retain a bigger Erendite if that is what he's going for. Still doesn't have Coral, unfortunately.
No,
really needs cards like Coral if you want to have that magic compass in round 3.
Yeah, definitely. And you probably wants to fish for it here. Could mulligan the Morkvarg because you have Darren in hand already, as not ideal. But 100% has to push here, if nothing else, the short round. You want to keep growing that Erendite, but you also need that compass value as well, so...
Kept the Morkvarg in hand, interesting. Well, I guess you could...
Goes to the discard then, I guess?
Yeah, potentially. Hey, you can use Darren for something else if you really need to make your deck a little bit thinner.
Is there a back... Yeah, that's certainly an option. Is it just a backup target? Does he have a backup target? Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay,
Ooh,
look at that.
Draws into Coral. So a bit of point value lost here, but
well,
that's thinned well.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of points actually lost with Coral because, of course, Darren doesn't trigger Coral. So, yeah, not very good for Coral. Coral's still going to have 2 points of damage. It's still a lot of tempo, so Erendite's still going to be growing. I see no reason for PuzzleExpress to opt out of the round just yet. I feel like the longer the round Pajabol has, the scarier it gets with his engines intact. And if anything, Erendite's just going to grow bigger and bigger and bigger the longer PuzzleExpress keeps ahead.
Yeah, Pyre's got to constantly play around all of the threats that we know exist. So, knows that Erendite is there, will be trying to keep a track of it. I think it's somewhere around I think it's about 5-6 points right now. The scary thing is, if one of those big pieces ends up in the graveyard, and then gets squirreled, it is already scary. The fact that Muzzle also still exists already, kind of scary as well. Lots of ways of denying that value in the short round.
Yeah, we also see Hjalmar coming out there. That's gonna make for some nice toll removal. Now, I don't have access to the graveyard, but I know we have some 8-point potential bronze targets. Don't know if
Yes.
some of them made their way into the graveyard yet.
They did. Yeah, we have an 8-point little Hafru in the graveyard, so you'd imagine that would be the choice. Is this going to be the time to do that? And then pair with a leader charge to get rid of that defender, potentially.
Well, that defender can just come straight back.
Or it could just be a
Okay.
Junod.
What a
Could
great
just be a
Juno
Junod.
target. That's 12 points. That's a potential 12-point Juno target. Is that the Juno target we want is the question. Because we have a lot of cards here in our hand that could sort of take care of this threat. And PuzzleExpress does decide to go for Juno. Oh, beautiful.
And clears the engine up as well. Not messing around here. Keeping as far ahead as possible. Letting that Erendite grow. And saying, okay, you think Northern Realms can 2-0. Let me show you something, friend.
All right. So,
Expect to see that priest rapidly destroyed off the face of the earth in 3, 2, 1.
yes, I expect no less. Very nicely done. Control showing just exactly what it is capable of if you are playing a semi-solitaire deck that doesn't really interact with your opponent's deck. And that's what Pajabol is playing, relying on a deck that accumulates its own points, not really interacting with your opponent's list per se. So Pajabol is at PuzzleExpress's mercy here. Does PuzzleExpress have a target to deal with the threat? And he does. He has so many targets here. We can go with Erendite, we can go with Muzzle. It's really up to PuzzleExpress whether he wants to commit one or the other.
I think he goes for the squirrel first, and he's going to get rid of the defender, I'm guessing. We can't jump into the graveyard, but I'd be stunned if it was anything else. That's really nice for PuzzleExpress here. Lots of turns of rain still to go, and obviously there are engines on the side of Pyre. Okay, there is the thing he's looking for.
Now,
Is he going to leave it? Because you can't damage it, right? So,
no.
okay, so he just killed. Whoa, Erendite's at 11 already.
Excellent.
Oh, and now it's at 12. Oh my word, that's terrifying. And it's gone. And it's gone. Oh, goodbye.
Oh,
Goodbye.
that hurts.
That's big. That is big here.
Yeah, playing Erendite would be an indication, in my opinion, that you want to go into the next round. Because, of course, it's an echo card. You want to play it twice, get the most value out of it. But like you said, now it's gone. And really, now PuzzleExpress needs to figure out what he wants to do here. He plays Darren in the melee row. Okay, so it doesn't do its deployability. Instead, it just plays for 8 points. Still a lot here. And honestly, Payabol's going to need to commit a bit to catch up.
He is, but Pyre playing this nicely, not allowing Sigvold to take damage, i.e. giving it bleeding in any way right now, so that it doesn't drop down to 6 points with bleeding and allow PuzzleExpress to steal it. The card of choice here is big. What are you going to play? If you play the Canute and start trying to build that, you could potentially lose your card, right? And that may end up being game over. Instead, takes the Vilcarl, probably has to leader it, use the Herald on board, plays that little bit of tempo threat to catch up.
It's just not enough, is it? But PuzzleExpress decides to pass. So what is Pajabol committing here? Has access to the deck with the Neuromancy. Still has a leader ability. He can get away here with not really committing too much. But then again, he might also lose his tutor that he really needs in order to replay a card he just committed. That's quite valuable.
The risk. But if he plays one of the cards, it has to be a Nero, I think. He only needs 10 points here because the rain is going to tick again. So he's on 33 points for argument, or the opponent's on 40, right? So he just needs 10 points to get ahead here for Pyre. In his deck, because we can't jump straight into the deck, Ceres Fearless has not jumped out yet, and I don't know what number she's on. She may be a defining difference between this. She has to be close to jumping out of that deck. Also, the leader ability as well is an option, of course.
Yes.
What has he got left? Freya's Blessing, maybe?
Okay.
Could do it. Okay, we can just see now. Okay, 2. Ooh,
it's very close.
2 points of self-damage. Fire. Oh, that was close. Wow. I'm assuming all of that happened and the client caught up with it. Otherwise, that is the fastest clicking I have ever seen.
I mean, it wouldn't amaze me if that was fast clicking coming from Pajabol. He does draw a tutor, which is great for him. Okay, he needs to draw at least one more gold card here for me to be happy with his hand. We see PuzzleExpress drawing into the Magic Compass. He has done beautifully. Will actually be able to play Magic Compass and create a legendary Skellige card, which is going to be quite nice, seeing that he has last say as well.
Yeah, absolutely huge. You can see, obviously, Canute is still there. That was very expensive for Pyre. Had to full leader and also thin the Ceres through. Obviously, it means it's one less brick, but it's also a lot of potential points that were available. Ooh, finds the restore.
Is that going to be
useful?
nice?
100%. We know what's coming here, right?
Oh, yes.
Does he go? Yeah, he does still stick with Sigvold.
For sure, for sure. So, I don't know, Pajabol, he has a bit of points there, but if that card drops just enough, it's going to get muzzled, and then it's game over.
Yeah, it's never Arna Chad, right? He's not going to play Arnagad here.
You can play
Surely
anything.
I'm not going to see it.
I played Arna Chad the other day, and it was beautiful, mind you. It's really an option. Okay, makes sense, goes with the Raging Bear, doesn't do 2 points of damage.
Fine. But we see, that's big. That's big here, because the muzzle keep might end up being greedy.
Yes.
This might be a risk, because there'll never be a 6-point card on board, potentially. Albeit, I suppose, he just, as soon as Canute hits the board... Oh, he didn't full leader, my apologies. Didn't full leader here. But as soon as Canute hits the board, it should be safe enough now to just jam the leader and steal it and hope that as a result you can't do too much with it.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Of course, he's going through all the options here. Throws Restore away. Yeah, it was a pretty useless card.
Yeah, it was playing for 0 anyway, so make your opponent make the decision, right?
Okay. Nicely done.
That is a gold and a card.
Very nicely done. So can be throwing away last card in hand. It's as simple as that, really. I always miss Camby as the option, but hey, if you're ahead, play Camby. You just win.
Okay.
Wow.
You know what?
Okay.
If you beat Pajabol in a final qualifier to get to Open and you do it with a Camby play,
hats off to you.
I love Gwent so much. Fair play to PuzzleExpress. Held. Pye was in a really awkward situation. That isn't a good matchup, realistically, either. There's so much control in there, and now both players have one list of the two through. Pajabol has got that Northern Realms list through, and the SK for PuzzleExpress has gone.
That was good. I'm ready for more matches now. So Pajabol on blue coin has the option of double cross simulate or having the option of Urson Ritual once again. Decided here to take Urson Ritual on red. I would say Nilfgaard to me is still the most red coin list, but hey, you can play it on blue coin. It's certainly an option. You normally have the stratagem ready to go if that's the case. PuzzleExpress on the other hand has red coin. Now he can play off the books or he can play Deadeye Ambush. Whichever one fits on red coin the best. I think
they both play both, honestly. They've both bought quite flexible, quite versatile options. PuzzleExpress has chosen elves on red, but has also had to play it on blue over the course of this. Has always taken the Reckless Flurry on blue, understandably, but all of the lists generally have been quite versatile. Albeit, honestly, I just can't wait to see this Nilfgaard list. It's played that, not Nilfgaard, sorry, Syndicate. Has played that on both coins as well, so who knows? He's going to be picking around what he thinks Pyre is going to take.
Honestly, Syndicate is what I'm hoping for, just because I want to see it in action very much. Being able to see Syndicate. But yeah, like you said, both these lists are very flexible. Really, predicting it's going to be difficult. And even trying to think what your opponent is going to play to sort of cue into it is going to be difficult as well. I see we're going back
Don't need to
into
guess.
the
They've
gameplay.
just gone in.
All right.
And it is. Pyre takes Self-Wound again here, saying, look, I want to get this list through. And we see elves. The elves list also running a lot of control. Well, not a lot of control options, but a reasonable amount of damage, a bit of versatility, and a heat wave as well to deal with one of those big threats, which is pretty massive, and access to it.
All right, so I mean, both players have played this list now in the series, so both falling back on their tricks. PuzzleExpress did play Square Town Red, so it seems he is going for this as his red option. I think that's just because of the amount of tempo you could potentially bring with Vanadayen or even just Feign Death. And this time, PuzzleExpress's hand looks very good. Last time, he didn't really have a lot of options. He had to use a Neuromancy to draw into Heatwave. This time, that's not the case. Though
No, definitely
he
not.
does have Heatwave, and Pajabol does have Melusine just waiting to be Heatwaved once again. So we'll see how they try and play around each other's threats.
We will. Not a great open for Pyre, really. Having to just drop the defender. There are worse plays, don't get me wrong, but probably not the proactive play you're looking for necessarily. Doubt to see that it's going to get heat waved, and there is no direct answer to it from PuzzleExpress. The question is, how aggressive does PuzzleExpress want to be here? No Vanadane in hand means that a Neuromancy is always going to be a risk, because then you don't have the heat wave answer. Both players running squirrels and have already had squirrels be quite important into this, so
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You don't necessarily have to use Heatwave on Melusine. You just have to tempo in such a way that you can play your squirrel before Melusine is played a second time from the graveyard. It's really all about deciding what threats you need to eliminate. And Melusine is one of the easier ones, to be fair. It really is.
yeah, it threatens that short round, and it's one of the biggest threats in a short round, right? It's
Yes.
going to be allowed to grow here. Obviously, you've got to get through a defender, and there isn't an answer to that right now for PuzzleExpress. Is is there an idea to just keep going through here? Going to be interesting. Paya also mulligans Ceres again, and has consciously made that decision twice now with this list. Values the control, I suppose, over anything else as a result. Is saying, you know what? If I have to play it this round, I will play it this round. That's absolutely fine. But we'll be conscious of trying to keep it if he can.
Yeah, so PuzzleExpress also not really doing a lot to get ahead here, playing it rather slow, not committing anything as of yet. Pajabol, on the other hand, has played Defender, has played Melusine now. That's at least two potential cards you could resurrect from the graveyard, though it would normally be Melusine if there are other cards like Sigvald and Knut you want to play a second time. Right now they're both sort of feeling it out, I think, trying to see what the other one is prepared to commit. Yeah, because PuzzleExpress has the means of getting ahead. If he really wants to, he could go all out with a scenario right now. But normally you want to start off with that, right? Especially since you have Vernaseal's Commando just growing by the turn.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's any interest to do that whatsoever here. Choosing to play an archer if for such small value, just saying, you know what, I'm happy here, absolutely not worried. Probably unlikely to keep committing into this round, if I'm being completely honest. The Ceres only has 2 or 3 more pings on it, maybe actually one more turn. On a pass here, Ceres might thin itself. I don't have access to the deck, but if Ceres thins here on the pass, that would be really disappointing for Pyre. Oh, and it stays. Okay, not too bad. Must only have about one self damage left then.
Yeah, it's certainly very interesting that Paya does make that conscious decision of getting rid of Ceres every time. Like you said, some players like to keep it in hand so it doesn't accidentally pop out too early. And that's not the case with Pajabol. We'd love to ask him more about that when he maybe goes through to open number 2 or something along those lines. But for now, yeah, we see that PuzzleExpress still has a bunch of options, hasn't committed a single card, has everything he needs if Pajabol decides to bleed here. And of course, I know the first card that PuzzleExpress is dropping if Payabol's first card isn't Melusine.
And it has to be 100%, right? It 100% has to be the Melusine, which does leave PuzzleExpress in the situation of saying, okay, now I kind of have to heatwave this, right? Unless, honestly, he believes that he can do enough damage to get rid of it. It's scary, because you can't have that in the short round. Not surprised here at all. Melusine just has to go.
For sure. Again, even there was a little bit of a hesitation there, even for a slight second, because there are other targets. Oh, what did he get rid of there?
Would have squirreled the heat wave, because in this matchup, double heat wave is a legitimate and very good strategy. Because, of course, you don't have to bring back those waylays. And in fact, in this matchup, it's better not to. In this matchup, it's much, much better in fact, to bring Heatwave back instead with the Alyssa Henson and play it a second time because it can be game winning. Paya holding on to that squirrel. He would much rather get rid of that option than get rid of the Aneromancy. Really, really nice play there.
And Pajabol deciding to go under 7
is.
cards. No turning back. Ceres coming out beautifully. Hey, if Pajabol is actually calculating around Ceres, knowing when to pass based off on that, it's nice that Ceres comes out really early because she starts doing her thing the moment you need her to. And knowing Pajabol, it could very well be the fact that he's calculating it to the T. So we see PuzzleExpress here going in with Feign Death. So now he will be able to tempo ahead quite easily. And it could just be that Pajabol passes here, in all honesty. He has the option of doing so.
Does, but hasn't, and could just say, you know what, the scenario's gone, I now believe I can deal with it. The scary thing is that does open up a lot of potential for PuzzleExpress. If that's the choice. That could be, and it's a possibility for sure, but it opens up a long round against elves, knowing there isn't too much in the way of direct control, but we have seen how scary that length of round can be if they can swarm efficiently.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Ceres is a pretty nice card to have when you're trying out that Knut Sigvald combo. Not having it does hurt. Pajabol was, yeah, just passing.
He goes. Okay.
Interesting.
Making sure he doesn't give away last say is pretty big. You can see Spores there is, well, it's just reset Sigvald at the end, right? So Paya saying, I'm going to value my last say. That is the most important thing to me. Albeit, yeah, hasn't actually played Sigvald yet, but does have access to it. It's got to be Vanadane here, right?
I would hope so. And we do see Vanadine coming out. Vanadine going to have 2 extra waylays in hand now, if he decides to do so, which is the obvious choice. Sumlas then having access to about 4 waylays if you play Alyssa to shuffle those back. Not bad at all, especially going into round 3. Only problem here is the potential of overswarming, which is a real problem when it comes to Deadeyes and Elves, seeing that we still have 3 leader chargers on the side of PuzzleExpress. That's 3 cards on the board. We're going to have 4 waylays.
Or are we? Because there's going to be 1 in hand. Guaranteed at least 1 waylay in hand here. Is it going to be more than that? Okay, no, draws pretty well, all things considered. But the long round is kind of scary because Fukusha can also get a lot of value from Rain as well here. That Rain can then pair in really nicely with Bride of the Sea and not just its damage to keep bringing back better cards. And that could be pretty good for Pajabol here. It's certainly not the most favoured of matchups, but it's not unwinnable. But then not a lot is if you are Pajabol.
Very true. I mean, both players here have a pretty optimal hand, except for that 1 waylay in PuzzleExpress's hand, which is rather unfortunate. So, let's see. Pajabol has last say, which is not bad for Pajabol, seeing that PuzzleExpress has Spores in hand. Starts off with Vernaseal range row. I guess that makes sense, seeing that you don't really want random pings to land on the wrong cards if you're playing against a Southwind deck.
Yeah, not the end of the world, and also just doesn't have another proactive play realistically. You want to make sure that you play, you know, there's some offensive items in there, there's some setup required, but ultimately, as you say, yeah, there's a lot of potential cards that could benefit rather than be damaged by it, so it's not as awkward as it would have felt in some other matchups.
Yeah, absolutely. Pajabol is carefully considering here what card he should start off with. I mean, ideally you want to set up those engines as quickly as possible, but some of them will die immediately. So he has to decide what cards he is willing to dispose of. Decides to go with a measly bronze card to start it off with.
Makes sense. Doesn't want to give... Can sort of say, okay, if you're opening with this, maybe your hand's a little bit awkward, as evidenced by that potential play there. Now, do you ever...
Shuffle that back?
Do you ever... Yeah, are you going to grab it to do that? Maybe. Maybe. And we see the Sigvald now drops. That is now out and available on the board. With no real way of dealing with it, right? If I'm not mistaken, there aren't any locks in this list for PuzzleExpress. Doesn't have any way of dealing with that at all now.
Not really. We do see Alyssa coming out. Alyssa going
Makes
for that
sense.
waylay. I mean, to me, it's the same as going for 2 waylays, right? What else would you use Alyssa on, right? Except for
now the
Heatwave.
Heatwave's gone, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
precisely.
And now that's set up and ready, the threat, as soon as Canute hits the board, Canute says goodbye. Paya, of course, we can see has two ways of bringing that back, potentially. And is that a Fukusha now? Ooh. Going for the
Okay.
full rain value. Nice, setting that up ready.
Very nice. That is 10 points of rain damage right there, and it's certainly going to find it's worth, seeing that there's still quite a few turns left. Alright, so we've got a few cards on the board now, and yeah, Knut just sitting there, not really doing anything right now.
No, Empire will try and hold that for a little while longer, albeit don't has Sigrifa's Right been played already? I think it was played turn 1, round 2, so it is in the graveyard for Bride of the Sea, but would have to play next turn if you were looking to get that rain value out.
Okay, so now, I mean, it's a good opportunity to play another engine, I'd say. It's scary though. Again, these engines can really be removed quite easily. Simlas is ready to go with 4 Waylays. Yaven's ready to go with as much elves as he needs on a row. We have 3 leader charges left, so that's a potential 4 plus 3, which is 7, plus Yaven is 8. Easily getting rid of a target that needs to be removed quickly. So Pajabol is sort of waiting for those cards to come out on their own before he's actually willing to commit some of his stronger engines, it seems.
Very much so. There's kind of a bit of an impasse of what do I give and what do I not? And this is one of those things that you will see happen a lot more at the very, very top end. It's not necessarily about playing with your deck, it's about playing around what your opponent has. Obviously, it's open deck list in this situation, but they know these matchups so well that just trying to go full greed and say, oh, I'll just play Knut now, would have lost this match for Pajabol, because then he loses his crucial amount, can't get it when he needs it. So it's always interesting to see the mind games, the backwards and forwards of what could and should be in your opponent's hand.
Yeah, it's rather
And you see
difficult.
the slow again.
Yeah, we see the Purify finally coming out because it was wondering whether a Defender would come out or not. So instead we see the Sapper coming out right now. Okay, and again another card. This one can be used on Knut. Again, it's very slow tempo, some of these setups. Not really doing a lot. Both players are very hesitant to commit anything of value at this point.
And you can see why. Possibility to full leader in Yavin here to remove another threat, but you've also got to look at, you want a green card. He's not going to find the value from the Sigvold to reset with Spores, probably. So now he's thinking, okay, well, I want to leave the self-wounding engine, the damaging engine, alive then maybe, and do that. Do I kill one of them and not the other? Is that going to be the line here? Because you don't want to Isengrim yet. You want to do that after you've used the Simless, right? Mm-hmm. So trying to weigh up where's the value coming from this Spores.
Okay, so Pajabol immediately just
again.
Resurrecting that card. PuzzleExpress, still not sure what to play here. I mean, Spores is not an option. Isengrim is an option. What, you're gonna lose 4 or 5 points of value? It's gonna hurt. But you have to...
A lot of value.
You have to take it into account that you could instead remove a big engine on the side of Pajabol rather. And how much that's going to play when in combination with the other engines. I mean, Knut and Sigvald is still the win con here in my opinion. And PuzzleExpress still sees it as big enough a threat to not commit Simlas just yet.
Yeah, I think this has to be the Bride of the Sea turn though. I don't think... Oh no, there is a Mardrum, never mind. So could have waited another turn, but... Is he going to bring an engine back instead? No. Goes for the full value. That does open up.
Spores, potential.
It could open up Spores, or maybe you hold the Spores. Maybe you give it one more turn. No, doesn't, and says, you know what? I'm going to flat out remove that value. This is going to be close.
Yeah, okay, so both players have literally waited till the very end to play those big cards. Simlas can now potentially interact with Sigvald. It depends what Pajabol is willing to play on the board. Pajabol's probably calculating exactly what gets him ahead here. He knows that PuzzleExpress likely has Simlas in hand. He knows whether he wants to use Sigvald once or twice and what he needs to get ahead. So he's just calculating real quick what's going to do this trick here.
Okay, I thought he was going to play the Vildkarl here and leave it at 5 so it couldn't be killed, because any damage to it would have triggered it. I didn't think he would give that.
There we go.
I'm a little surprised that he gave that here, but he still does have a lot of points, because that's obviously dying now, not going to get it second turn. I thought he would go the other way with that here, and he's able to remove the key engine as well as then just do big damage into whatever he chooses. Is it enough?
I can tell you it's going to be close. So we see Voltkral coming down here. We're going to see those leader charges coming down on Voltkral. Already on 41 points. Ooh.
Then onto Sigvold, and then onto self-damage.
I think
this is going to be so close.
Might be taking this one, it appears.
I think he is.
It's very close, but those bronze engines are going to pull it off.
Yes,
very nicely done to Pajabol. Very nice game overall. There were a lot of calculations going on there on both sides, and both players played those exceptionally well. So
really did. That's massive for Paya. The two lists pretty hard targeted by PuzzleExpress, realistically. The two lists that should have been the hardest to get through, and they are both now through. He has only got to get double cross assimilate Nilfgaard through here, which I think of all of the options will be the one that probably had the best chance of finding its way through. So he's going to feel really, really good about that, I think.
Yeah, Pajabol now have Nilfgaard on red, which is the best coin in my opinion. PuzzleExpress has his blue option, which is either going to be off the books or Deadeye Ambush. If we follow his current trajectory, then he's definitely going to want to play Square Tile on red once again, and maybe we see Syndicate on blue. Maybe
we get to see this Syndicate list. Please let me see Golden Necker Syndicate with Walter Veritas Necromancy. That's what I'm here for.
Yes.
That's what I'm here for. Please don't deny us that wonderful opportunity.
It's going to be even more bizarre that Pajabol is playing Assimilate, therefore we'll see the weird cards not only on one side of the board, but the other side as well. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup. Can Pajabol play PuzzleExpress's weird Syndicate list better than PuzzleExpress can? That is the saying, right?
And we will find out here. The big thing, when you're behind and your opponent only has one list, it's all about what you feel your list has a better chance, right?
Yeah.
Which coin are we going to go in on? And that is the big decision. Because it is a slight advantage, even though obviously it comes with a lot of negatives as well. But again, no guessing required. We are going in, and PuzzleExpress does. My wish is now granted.
Yes.
We get to see the list. Will Walter Veritas, will the echo of Jason Slammer potentially keep PuzzleExpress in this?
Beautiful. I feel very weird casting this game, seeing that I have never played this list, and I think it's safe to say most never have. This is a very weird list made by PuzzleExpress. I'm very excited to see it in action, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. And a very, very quick, rapid, and predictable opening there from PuzzleExpress. Just dropping the Congregate Bronze out there. And yes, I call them Congregate Bronzes because that's where they belong, damn it. But whoever loses this series still has a chance of going through to open. And I can tell you, they will be facing off against the legendary Magpie. Magpie taking the lower bracket semi 3-1 against Danarai. Oh, and that's also going to be coming up here. So whoever doesn't win this series, you're going to get to watch us cast them v Magpie yet.
Oh, this feels like a true open event is what it feels like.
Right.
All right. Yeah, so he starts off with the best bronze in my opinion, because for for 1 coin you get 2 points, which is pretty much one of the best conversion rates in Syndicate. I mean, that's essentially what Philippa does, right? We see Pajabol going straight up and committing a card that will guarantee him a very gold round 2. So that on red coin, he'll want to tempo ahead here preferably and try and win on even.
Finds the poison as well. Interesting, very nice.
I never find the poison.
Is he? No, I never find the poison either. I'm assuming he just grabs the poison, takes the dip. Instead, wants the dip, doesn't want to commit the poisons here. Interesting.
Yeah, I thought for a while the card was bugged because I've never gotten the poison. And we see that first spying status coming onto the board, meaning that is already a potential card in Pajabol's arsenal. A potential poison himself. Of course, he's going to have to get some coins in order to use it himself, but that is not a problem. Not in Assimilate.
No, definitely not. Curious decisions there. Curious decisions. I suppose the bleeding value... And there, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, the double value there. Teshin Mutna Sword coming in that bleed, allowing you to combo that instead. So you can play the melee row. You don't see the hounds very often, but if you're running Tesh and Mutna, it makes sense. And that is a heck of a tempo pass.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any difference on blue because he's through. He's like, yeah, fine, fight me. I will go in. And there's got to be a heavy bleed here, right?
Yeah, Pajabol having to pass it. There was no getting ahead there. And little to no setup for later rounds just yet. Okay, PuzzleExpress, show us how you pilot this deck. Are you going to go for a long round 2 into a short round 3 Golden Necker style, or what is it going to be here?
I think that would make sense generally. It's got to double check that the Golden Necker isn't a brick, and I do believe you still have. Let me just double check. There is Salamander Hideout is still in there as the only possible option as an artifact, which is perfect when you have both the Blenheim brothers available to you. But has missed a few things as well. Has managed, no Morale in hand, no Savola in hand.
Yes.
But could also pull those from Golden Necker, so you have to be mindful when you jam that card.
Again, starting off with the best bronze, just the best value, really. Interesting. Well, obviously, you don't actually want to give Pajabol a long round 3 here. But then again, a short round 3 from Payabol's end is not bad either. Potential Arto Terra Nova, potential Leader Charge. I would like to see PuzzleExpress going for the bleed here. Personally,
100%.
I mean, you're going to get a lot of golds here. You are going to be trading up quite exponentially. So I would like to see it myself. We see Gras coming down already. Oh, stealing the best bronze.
Yeah, not surprised to see that at all. Not surprised to see that. And there's a risk against Nilfgaard, as you say. Calvate's been dropped. So I've tried this matchup a few times. Admittedly, I wasn't playing this Syndicate list, but I was playing a similar Syndicate list. Or rather, the more standard one. The scary thing about trying to bleed a full gold hand of Nilfgaard is you generally lose your card doing so. And they can tend to retain their tool removal like the Yen, and that can basically be game over for almost all lists. Seeing that candle drop down early makes sense because it's great for Syndicate, but if you keep pushing and lose your card, it actually loses the advantage that you were trying to find. Giving them a long round is terrible, but losing your card and giving them last say is just as bad. And I ended up doing exactly this every time I queued Nilfgaard in the end. I ended up saying, bleeding you doesn't help me because I lose last say, and that guarantees I lose. And I ran at a wall, constantly bleeding it for about 10 matches. Interesting to see if it's going to pay off, though, because I have no idea how the list he plays works.
I mean, he clearly does. And yeah, you are correct. Yeah. I mean, actually trying to win in round 2 against Nilfgaard on a bleed is almost impossible, and really you do just lose last say most of the time. So instead we're going to see a long round, we're going to see all these engines in play, we're going to see some poison. We'll see if that actually works, and we'll see when these players overswarm, because eventually one of them will, and this will have a big effect, I think, on who wins this game.
It will. I mean, both players kind of have effectively everything they want. No Savola on this side and everything on the other, including leader abilities everywhere. So not terrible here, not terrible. Are we going to see this engine protected? And if so, by how much? We're not.
It's not really an option, is it? Because already we see a lock in Payabol's hand. So yeah, that lock's going to come down. We might see a steal. We can see quite a few things here. Maybe we see spying status being dropped on it first for a potential Arto Terra Nova target, potential coup de grace. Seeing Yennefer is an interesting one.
Yes, you're seeing Yen that early. It's necessary. Paya knows the longer that sticks on the board, the worse it is, and feels like the lock is also still going to be needed. The lock may not be in hand, obviously, with the Calvate. If it wasn't drawn in round 1, it was never going to be seen because it's a 4-provision card. But now that risk is gone. Now PuzzleExpress is thinking, okay, that is a huge threat out of my way. The tallest card is no longer getting Yennefer'd.
Yeah, again, interesting. Interesting, since that could probably have been dealt with rather easily. I know that the location card in Syndicate does give you the option of purifying a card. It is an option to actually just get rid of the lock. If I can't even recall the name of this card, but it has been reworked, and it's the very bottom card you get with the location Salamander Hideout, and it allows you to get rid of a status. So it might have been the easiest way to just Yennefer it at the end of the day.
Yeah, and ultimately, we all know if Freak Show sticks on the board, nothing else does, right? So, completely understand the line. And this is just going to be for pure value. Okay, interesting. Long round against Nilfgaard always used to be quite scary because they would board clog you as well. They would board clog you as well, which is quite scary.
Oh, there we go. It's called the Lackey. Yes, the card that nobody plays, but it's there, and it
Ah,
can
the
purify.
Salamander Lackey, right? Okay.
Yes, yes, exactly. It's always there just in case. It's the reason I removed Kurt from my deck because I had enough bounty. I didn't need purify. Salamandra Hideout got you covered. But yes, so we see both brothers on the board now. And we're going to see that tempo working quite nicely. The one poisoning, the other one gaining 2 coins every time something is poisoned. Wouldn't be surprised to see that being dealt with now. Also, giving it a spike status is an option. Again, being able to have your own one on the board doesn't hurt. We do see the lock just coming down there from the Aristocrat.
Yeah, 100%. And the fact that that's teched in as a choice, the leader ability in a competitive situation, you kind of want access to a little bit more control still, so great to see it coming through. There is no direct Purify in hand, but as you mentioned, it is a possibility. Golden Neck are guaranteeing to find you that if you're looking for it, but you've got the risk as well. What if I draw a Savola? What if I then, you're kind of trying to weigh that up, right?
Exactly. I'd love to see it. It would make my week if we see that Lackey being pulled from the location. Because really,
Hey,
how
it
are
would
you
make
going to
sense
deal
here.
with it? It's not easy to deal with it from here on out. Okay, what are
No,
we
it's
going
not at
for?
all. Probably Salamandra Mage here as a guess. Decent value. Also, you want it on the board for tributes.
For sure.
Um, doesn't choose to tribute it because
No.
obviously you're only going to get 3 points of value at most for those coins.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, not worth it. It's Golden Necklace. You're not getting the money back, so no King of Beggars here.
Exactly. No King of Beggars, so no getting the money back. You have to be very careful with your coins here. But yes, just having it on the board will give you coins for every tribute you use it on. So not bad at all. We also see the candle still on the board. So there is a guaranteed spender, which is pretty nice to have, as that can often be a problem in these late rounds when you run out of
Oh,
spenders.
for sure. The candle is so, so good. Such an incredibly powerful and versatile spender for Syndicate. Sure, it's 0 tempo, but it's why you often see it dropped in that round 2 and allow the bleed as a result. And it works really well. And you can see playing around their Pajabol, very nice, is playing around the potential next Salamandra Mage, but now has a read
Oh,
on
I knew
most
that
of the
was gonna
hand.
happen. Well, it's a Veritas will not only trigger Assimilate once, it shall trigger it twice.
Oh! And manages to find the Fallen Knight for Assimilate. That is huge. Because you
Yes.
are spawning a decent chunk of units, potentially, as well. Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
that was the dreaded one. That's the
And
one.
finds the Savola, but this is genius. Takes the bet, actually played the leader charge as well to make sure if this happened, it was safe.
I mean, that's
Ooh, but doesn't
beautiful.
have the coins for the Morels. Obviously, I guess plays this instead. There are
Mm-hmm.
so many things happening right now. This is a turn and a half.
Come on, Lucky. Come on, Lucky. You
I
do
mean, a
your
Lackey
thing.
would potentially make sense here, right?
Come on. What is it gonna be? Oh, going
Is it
for
double
the
mage?
boring normal option. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes
It
sense.
does make sense, right? It does make sense because you're clearing that is a terrifying engine, right?
It's
That is a
very terrifying.
petrifying engine.
That's going to make you more coins than you're spending on a tribute, which is just astronomical. Having 3 of those on the board with adrenaline in
Yeah,
effect, crazy stuff.
it is. Unfortunately, only one card left in hand that is going to actually play a tribute, but there's a lot of coins here. A lot of coins here, and with Last Say, Syndicate doing serious work in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm so invested in this one. So there's not really removal left here in Payabol's hand. I mean, we have Lydia. Lydia has potential to do some things, but not
Yeah, Lydia can
really.
spawn or create,
Yeah,
right?
of course it has the potential to do some damage. We see Morale coming down there. What did I miss? What did Morale? Did it just remove a card?
Yes, just poisoned the Brathans and removed it.
Gotcha. Okay, so we still have
The
one
Salamandra
poison.
hideout used, yeah, Salamandra
Mm-hmm.
hideout took a poison off the spy, placed it onto Brathans, single cycled it, and got rid of it because you can still see the failed experiment can be paired with the other half of morale as well.
Exactly. Exactly. And of course, we have the Shady Vendor. We have Necromancy that can have access to something like Mutated Hounds even. So there's still a bit of poison left here on the side of PuzzleExpress.
There is. Oh, and does roll into it, remember. Was going to see 5. Does find that 5 damage. Morale, farewell. I was surprised I didn't see at least a single candle boost to potentially try and protect it.
That is interesting, actually. That's rather interesting, because what else are we saving coins for at this point? Now we see the candle being used. So it was an option. It was just not used.
I mean, it would have looked through the deck list and gone, you don't have 5p removal, you don't have any more locks, yen is gone, so I feel safe not to do this. Completely understandable option set of lines. Obviously, the potential risk there is that it gets rolled, and it's not even that much of a high roll when you consider Rune Mage has already been played to find some kind of damage on the front row.
Oh yes, for sure. I wonder if Walter Veritas is actually there to try and steal another poison. It could very well be the case Walter Veritas is in this deck. I don't know. It's an interesting option. It's I know the card art is amazing, but that's normally not enough to include the card itself.
Not usually. Are we going for melee row here? I'm assuming we're going for melee. No, doesn't go for the poison. But does find...
Okay,
got enough
we've
Salamander
got the mutagen.
units, you do.
Yes, mutagen.
Double mutagen here.
Beautiful.
Double
Can
mutagen.
self-poison?
Yes, it can. It can go back onto the...
yes.
It could self-poison the failed experiment, which can then move it as well.
Exactly.
I'm assuming that's the line.
I would hope so, but it's not. We instead see Vale coming down.
Yeah, you've got the engine to do it anyway, actually. It doesn't make any difference.
He wasn't using the engine at all. Completely forgot it existed.
Yep. It's managed to stick on the board. This Nilfgaard list, it's assimilate. It has a ton of points, but a ton of points doesn't necessarily equate. I mean, that is a lot, right?
Very nicely done. I mean, this game is done right. PuzzleExpress just wins by a bunch of points. I mean, Pajabol doesn't stand a chance here.
Out. Wow. That syndicate list is what you are going to be facing on ladder tomorrow if you play some Gwent, my friends. I can promise you that as they take us to game 5. Oh boy.
Okay, it is a Deadeye Ambush on red coin, again, 3rd time's the charm they say, versus Pajabol Nilfgaard on blue coin.
Yep,
so
that's going to be an interesting series.
Yeah, winner going through to open number 2. My prediction is PuzzleExpress is going to go all out trying to gain round control here. If he's able to do that, he just bleeds Pajabol or goes for the long round. Can't go for the long round, actually, because of overswarming with elves.
Long round's risky.
Yes.
Yeah, the long round's really risky in that sort of situation. Paya has played against elves so far this tournament. Played against Cams early today. Cam's bringing a similar list, Deadeye Ambush, but it was on the other coin that his syndicate list beat it. And hasn't played this specific matchup in the tournament, although let's be honest, he probably has played it about 1,000 times before. This is going to be tough, though. This isn't going to be the easiest, because there are some decent control tools available in that elf list.
I mean, for sure, but the same goes for Nilfgaard. We've got Yennefer that can get rid of Vanna Diane. We've got Coup de Grace that can get rid of Simlas and play it yourself. It's going to be interesting. It really depends on what is drawn in round 1 and how far the players are willing to go in order to gain round control.
Yeah, proactivity not the best for Paya either if he doesn't draw into... Like, you can potentially lose on even very easily as this Nilfgaard list, right? Which is a risk as we go into the final game. Who's booking that place? Oh, boy.
Okay, let's see. Both hands. Well, PuzzleExpress having access to Feign Death, Vanna Diane, Alyssa. It's looking rather good there. On Payabol's end here, well, we have Jan Calvate, which is likely about the only thing that really matters for a later round, but... in order to win this round, it's looking rather slow, actually. Slow on cards. Can't afford to commit Arthur Terra Nova yet. Not looking that amazing, really.
No, a little bit. I mean, it does have some options. You can play that. Rune Mage early is also pretty positive as well, and does play for good tempo. Yeah, that it could be a lot worse. Not surprised to see Puzzle instantly slamming that. Knows there's no answer to this scenario here. I think Paya wants to tempo as far ahead as he can and get out of here yesterday.
Oh, for sure. For sure. We see Emissary coming down. Very, very cheap bronze just being thrown on the board real quick. Of course, that has the effect of making Vernasil's Commando useless unless Vernasil's on the board, because she only ticks if there are only elves on the board. Emissary is not an elf. So, a good play there by Pajabol.
Yeah, completely. No, makes sense. Makes sense. That engine being switched off that way can be quite frustrating. It's definitely points denied. Now Paya trying to weigh up, what do I have to commit? To either stay in this round or give myself an out here, potentially. This is card 7. How much is going to have to be given, or how little can I get away with it? Would not be stunned to see an early Rune Mage here. Really wouldn't. I know it's a lot, but I wouldn't be surprised.
And you're correct. You are correct. I wouldn't be surprised to see Vanadain popping out here, as it's obviously going to give you a waylay, a waylay, a waylay. It's going to be quite perfect with the scenario having its last trigger coming. We see, oh, it's not the best, not the best card.
No, because the Vanadain here actually paired with the scenario could be perfect, because it could be the dreaded 5th waylay from Simless here, as, yeah, you get the one that spawns. If you only put 2 in the graveyard and shuffle the 3rd one that you've created back, you're very, very happy here.
There we go. And just like that, PuzzleExpress is winning on even and now has entire round control from here on out. It's quite easy to tempo ahead, really, if you are on the side of elves. Pajabol drawing Brothans gives him a little bit more tempo, to be fair. And he's ahead by 1 point here if PuzzleExpress were to pass, which is not the case.
No, I'd be very surprised to see a pass with that hand, because there's multiple cards he would love to play. Paya just keeping himself ahead, just doing enough to be a point ahead because of the bleed and the no engine. And this is interesting. You see that overkilling the engine instead of committing that extra waylay. PuzzleExpress smelling blood here, thinking, you know what? I want that 5th waylay to be able to deal with as many engines as possible when it comes down to it. Paya really gonna want to, and yeah, not surprised. Brathan's coming out now. Can't mess around here.
Yeah, it really needed that Brothans, to be fair. Otherwise, there was no way that you were going to tempo ahead unless you commit Arte Terra Nova, which is really not an option, because that's one of your win cons going into the later rounds, is really just going all out Assimilate. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bribery myself.
As well. Is that a Neuromancy right at the bottom? We can't see.
Cannot see.
But is drawing the Simless ultimately, and not drawing the Waylays, as well as having access from the Arcane Tome, probably just keeping this hand realistically, and stays ahead by just 1 point there, which will feel pretty perfect. 2 average bronzes available for Paya, though, which will feel pretty good, right? He's not going to mind committing those if it comes to it.
Nice.
Even Bribery, if he has to.
That right there was an 8-point play. Not bad at all. 7 points with the armor, 1 point for assimilate value. Heatwave coming down on a stratagem spawn, so...
Ooh, and now it feels really awkward that both bronze cards were available in Paya's hand, the bronze specials. I don't believe he runs double ointment, does he? He does run double ointment.
Does he?
He could Simless double ointment here, because he's played a Joust, he's played a Diplo, but he could Simless double ointment. He's just going to be doing the maths on what is the better value.
I mean, he would also like to be able to potentially do that later on, when Simless becomes available on the board. It might not be an option, though. If PuzzleExpress gains round control here, he might just bleed down all the way to the end, go a short round 3 with Simless. He goes with Simless. Alright, so he's taking Simless now. Has the option of playing 2 bronzes, which is not bad at all.
No, not at all. He gets the heal value as well there, so it's just better. Could have taken Verno for a flat 12, but I think overall that's a better choice.
It's not a bad choice.
Sorry, Verno would only have been 11, right?
Yeah. Of course, what's nice about this deck that PuzzleExpress is playing is that his leader allows him to get ahead when he needs points. He decides it's time to pass. He wants that Huele to stick in the deck. He wants 5, doesn't he? He wants 5 of them.
Yeah.
That is going to be something.
He does want 5 of them. That's an interesting choice. I'm surprised he wasn't willing to give the Verno to potentially win on even there. But hey, he knows these matchups better than I do. He went very, very, very aggressively there and thinking, I got a lot of commitment. A lot of your biggest plays are now out. Obviously, we know what he's drawing into. Hasn't taken... didn't shuffle by the look of the hand that's available here. This is going to be really interesting now. That was a very interesting call.
It certainly was. Potentially a little bit greedy, if anything. Deciding to go for the extra waylay there. Really could have committed something else. He was in a good position to make Pajabol pretty uncomfortable, but decided to opt out.
He did. Now, is he betting on Paya taking a pass here because the long round is good for Paya? How good is the long round is scary. No, he's saying, you know what? I've got to go in. Right?
Yeah, well, of course, Mushy Truffle is going to give you some carryover into the next round, which is always nice. That Verno isn't going to do anything. Vernoseal's Commander is just going to play for 1 point.
A PuzzleExpress holding a quite interesting hand here to be able to say, I'm going to make you be proactive. I'm going to make your life as difficult as possible. We're going to see the Vanadane drop here. Is he actually going to convert anything for waylays, though? That's the question. 1, okay.
All right.
No coup makes sense because there are no real spy options. So placing that out of the way just is sensible here. He's so going to use that the spear, isn't he? He's going to stay on interactive here.
I wouldn't be surprised in the least if that's the case.
No, I am surprised he didn't just kill the 2 cards, though. I'm surprised he didn't remove... Interesting, okay.
Yeah, Pajabol now, he's in a position to commit, actually. If he really wants to, he can go all out. Decides to go with Lydia.
He does.
Okay, so
and that's actually quite clever, because he's just pulled a waylay, and normally you can't play waylay onto an empty board. But if you create the waylay, or it's pulled from deck, you actually can play it onto an empty board, and get the death blow. Effectively, the spawn will still happen, and another spawn obviously just happened from the Vanadane as well. Really, really nice from Paya there. I'm not surprised that he's astute. I'm just continually impressed.
Of course, of course. So, PuzzleExpress now. What are we going with, PuzzleExpress? Playing Alyssa, shuffling back some cards. Doesn't have access to Simlas. Not right now.
Does. He does.
Using the book for the tutor.
He can use book into a Nero, into Simless if it comes to it. He actually could have drawn Simless, and he had a spare mulligan. He knew it was his next card, and he actively chose not to mulligan into it. We've seen this hurt PuzzleExpress in the first round against Paya, because he played super slow, tried to stay uninteractive, and ended up getting 2-0'd. Paya has to make a choice here. Is he gonna go for this? Because he didn't want to leave it in hand, right? So... And here it goes. Are we going to get the leader as well? Because this could be massive.
Okay. I must suspect he goes for leader. Yeah, goes all out.
He does indeed here. We're going to see the truffle click as well, you would imagine. That is huge. And we're in a similar position.
Are we going to see the click?
We're in a similar position. Paya will be frantically mathing here to work out if Simless is enough. Albeit he knows what's in hand, so he knows there's access to it, right? He's working out, does it make the difference? He's got all the time. He knows there are 5 waylays. So that's 32 points plus leader is so already he's ahead, right? If he plays the difference, which is clicking this for another 6-7, I think it makes the difference.
All right. Yes, he needs to be just enough, but not too much. Don't want to overcommit, but wants Simlas to come out on the board.
There's only 4 waylays, my bad.
Oh, right.
Okay, he played the 3rd one earlier and couldn't shuffle it back. That's my bad. I could have sworn there were 5. But between this and the leader ability, I think he still gets out.
All right, let's see some fun.
Here they come. Okay, all of them playing for maximum value here, but it's not as huge as you'd like.
Okay, we got 3, 6, 9. No. Not enough.
So this plays for 11 on the back row, which is not sufficient. On the front row, when you play it, it has a chance, provided it misses the 1.
Yeah.
But then you can just leader afterwards if not. I think melee row makes more sense because there's a good chance you can save your whole leader. Never mind. You hit the... Oh no, you managed to get out by 1.
It's not bad. It's very nicely done. So PuzzleExpress sitting on 3 Deadeye Ambush cards. And Payabol's sitting on a mushy truffle. So obviously that has to be aligned. So it's quite conditional, whereas I'd say that PuzzleExpress is in a good position himself. Does he have a lot of cards left is the question.
No, really not. There's not a huge amount of power left for either player here. Knowing there has to be proactive as well for PuzzleExpress this time. Likes to try and be a little bit reactive, as shown by the offensive nature of the decks. And really not looking at a hand that's going to do that for them right now.
Yeah, so it's going to be quite interesting. PuzzleExpress kind of needs to deny these cards from sticking on the board so that Mushy Truffle doesn't get its full value. He shuffles away one of them, instead gets a horse. That's a downgrade.
Yeah, I mean, he knows what's left. Okay, finds this with full leader.
him.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
I knew that was the draw as well. Don't know if they, if PuzzleExpress took the screenshot or not for the maxi, but was aware. Do you have to full leader and just drop that right now? Because obviously it's an engine in itself. It will keep boosting itself, right?
I see no reason not to, no, honestly. I can't see the deck right now. I
don't know what's left in deck,
exactly, if there's a better option.
Yeah, I think it's just a play, right? Because once your spawned units are out, you're going to boost. You're not losing any points by it being on the board here.
Okay. That's played on the middle row.
What's left? What's left? Because you don't want to give a good bronze target. So, ideally... Okay. Runs the Purify to prevent the potential. We know Ku's not there.
Yes.
But to get rid of that is actually really astute. Really astute here.
I mean, that would have been a very big coup, to be fair.
It would have been.
How
this is going to be agonizingly close. Because that's playing for 8. Oh my god. I can do the maths. I'm going to refuse to do the maths. But I think Paya wins this by 1. Oh my god, this is close.
I don't want to do the maths and be off by 1, but PuzzleExpress is going to play 4. It's going to be 6, 7.
6.
Yeah, it gets 1, which is 7. That's going to detract by 1 point. It's going to create another one, which is an extra 2.
It's a draw.
Dear gosh, no.
I'd forgotten the count on the...
Yeah,
I forgot the count. It's a draw. Game 5 is a draw.
What are the chances?
No. Oh
gosh.
My God.
Well. It was so great. We get to witness it a second time.
The legendary Game 6 is here. I'd forgot about the Isengrim that I just talked about growing when you play an elf card.
Yes.
I had Paya down winning that by 1. Game 6, here we come. Oh boy, these both really want to get to the Open, huh?
Yeah, that was interesting. It's also the most unlikely list to really tie, in my opinion. I don't know. It's so weird having elves and assimilate tie. But then again, you are playing half and half elves if you are assimilate. That was an interesting game.
True.
It's still interesting to me that PuzzleExpress decided to stop pushing, especially since he went with 4 waylays instead of 5. So I thought he was going greedy, going all out waylays.
I was wrong about the 4 and 5 waylays. He did set the 5th waylay up, but Lydia was played back row, so Lydia didn't create one. Lydia physically took it out of the graveyard. So that play was even better, because it not only played for the initial value straight away, but actually denied 6 points of carryover. So that was super sharp. So
it's always the top players who find a way to tie, which is infuriating, but very well played. So this is going to be a rematch, right? Same coins and square tile.
Same coins, same lists. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure this is. I don't think they didn't tie already, right?
Not when we were casting, for sure.
Yeah, no, they haven't tied while we've been casting until just now. So it was 2-2. This is the final game. Well, unless they draw again. What differences are we going to see this time round?
So already Paya draws into Mushy Truffle round 1. Very similar round 1 hand, actually. Outer Terra Nova, Mage, Bribery, Jan Calvate. Very similar, whereas PuzzleExpress has his hand on far less.
Worst hand for Puzzle. Quite a bit worse. No access to Scenario, no access to Vanadane, or rather not directly in hand. Yeah. Can grab them, but...
Also 2 waylays in hand?
You can only grab one of them, right?
2 waylays in hand. Not ideal if you're going to be pushing for round control, as you want those...
you can get rid of both of them, right?
You can technically if... Sure, sure. You can go the other way around with Vanadain.
And Paya finds that yen again as well. Really nice. Paya's hand's near identical to last time. That's impressive. Um,
Yeah, literally near identical, except for like Mushy Truffle. So Puzzle Express this time starting off with just an elf. Just an elf. Maybe deciding not to go all out this round. No?
so what's the play? Is it Scenario or is it Vanadain? It's Vanadain here. Okay.
Is that getting
Giving him the hand
stolen?
information to Paya though, and showing that the intention might be a little bit different here. Waylays become waylays.
Is that getting stolen? Are we going to see a spying status first? I mean, I feel removing the threats is far better. Like, even giving it a little lock might even be an option. But then again, just stealing it outright could be very nice.
And yeah, same play as last time. That is one of the best possible steals in this series, in this matchup. You don't want that sticking on the board. It can also be a little bit, not even that awkward, because it can play for so much value for yourself as well. So Paya much happier with this opening round than last time. Had to commit so much to get out last time. And it doesn't feel like that's going to be the case this time so far.
No, for sure. Already the tables have turned. Yeah, Pajabol here having a very good hand round one. Really isn't threatened in terms of tempo. PuzzleExpress now has a waylay, maybe trying to set up that graveyard so long. But yeah, there's no way Pajabol can possibly lose round control if he decides to go all out here with the hand he has. Yeah, again, PuzzleExpress already lost to Neuromancy, so Neuromancy is going to go into the next round, possibly giving something like the Artifact with Feign Death.
Yeah.
Yeah, different game plan altogether here, we see. Yeah, even the Purify.
Equally a fully playable hand, right? So,
yeah.
Fortunately, on red coin is going to be trading up. The reach isn't that bad right now. He's looking at, what, 6 points to get ahead here, 7 to get ahead. It's well within the reach of possibility. Even if you have to do it in one card, you can always drop a single lead charge if you really have to. So PuzzleExpress going to keep just ticking away. Didn't choose to use that second waylay here. Perhaps still with a mind firmly set on what could be for the Dream of the 5, or just playing that Purify for its value for once.
Yeah, the only problem here with Pajabol is definitely having to commit some cards you don't want to commit yet. Does again go for the Rune Mage. Interesting.
Please don't do it, Pajabol.
Do it.
Paya, why?
Okay.
I knew he was going to click that card. But doesn't find anything overtly... well, I mean, Spores could be a huge difference. As soon as I saw it, it's like, he's going to click the Kingslayer. And he does. And we see... this is now a soft mill list. That's it. Team PuzzleExpress the whole way.
Of course, this is how it works. We are now anti-Pajabol. That's just the rules.
Okay, I can't go that far.
Okay, so we now see the last bronze card leaving Payabol's hand, giving spying status. Not really doing a lot, and now we go into the territory of commitment. Suddenly,
it's not a terrible coup, though, right?
Tiny scary. No, it's not the worst coup, really. Ahead by quite a bit. Again, PuzzleExpress can get ahead by committing a lot.
Still do this in 2 cards. So if he plays both of the elves, he plays the elf in hand, spawns 2. It also thins Ailerin. So that's going to play for 9 points of tempo, goes to 14. With 6 elves on the board, I think that's enough between that and the Isengrim if he wanted to. Doesn't decide to do that, though. And so it actually ended up being a reasonably similar round length, pushing to try and get as much as possible. Paya has a little bit longer, though.
Yeah, again, opting out right at the very end, deciding not to go all out here. Yeah, Pajabol in a good position, I'd say. That Vanadain is looking very spicy, and of course it's going to be triggering all the Assimilate cards. Shuffles it away for now.
Yeah, a safer shuffle as well, because obviously the Vanadain has put the other 2 right to the bottom. So hasn't got to worry about drawing into that pair, but has drawn just not very well at all. And we've seen Paya very, very willing to push down for potential 2-0s with this list. Just scraped out last time PuzzleExpress, and not necessarily the hand that you would think would do that this time.
Interesting that PuzzleExpress doesn't just try and stay ahead with a quick leader charge. But yeah.
No, he knows Paya's not going anywhere.
Yeah, Pajabol is just going all out. Going all out, moving it back. Very nicely done.
Yeah, although this back row archer right now, because remember, if you play the Dolbothana archer on the back row, you can target any unit. So that's actually now really high value. We're going to see the scenario here probably as a result to pair with that. A lot of points with 2 1-point units on the board available.
Paya's going to be very happy with that commitment. Wouldn't be surprised if it gets out. Exactly.
And he does. He says farewell.
Nicely
because
done.
It stops that extra waylay too. A medium length round, pretty good for Nilfgaard.
Yeah, very good. Still has the option of potentially overswarming on the side of elves. But yeah, now PuzzleExpress has to commit another card, and it's even once again, Pajabol has a last say as well.
He does, and he's decided here, he's played Maxi, which makes sense. Going to have to lead a charge with that, but now knows the draws. I'm going to say is probably stuck with the draws there, knowing as a result there is no heat wave, but there is definitely the ability to shuffle. There is the ability to play the Simless as well. I would guess that hand was kept, and it was. Alyssa, card 1, Simless card 2.
Alright, well, both these hands are looking good. One is looking better than the other because of all the gold borders, but we shouldn't disregard Simlas, Alyssa, and Isengrim. We also still have Book. Book goes. Bye-bye, Book. Ooh. Okay.
No, we know the last card is, finds the Verno.
Perfect.
So.
Alright then, alright.
Yeah.
Final
back
round.
In, nothing in the graveyard.
So this is the final round in the series, ladies and gentlemen, unless they tie a second time. hoping that's not the case. At least we'll be able to quickly go into the next matchup when the time comes.
Yeah, they've been ready for a little while, actually. They have been ready for a little while. So, yeah, they have been ready for just, yeah.
Ooh, again, Bribery giving quite a few options. I know which one I'd go with. There we go. Vernasil, even though you're not playing Scoia'tael, feels nice. This looking good for Pajabol, but again, we have to wait for Simlas as those waylays really do pack a punch.
Yeah, they really do. They really do here.
Again,
yeah. Puzzle tends to go slowly here. Wouldn't be surprised to see the artifact just dropped when it comes through to his turn. Paya just wants to set up value, right? This isn't amazing, but doesn't need to worry too. Oh, good lord. There's the leader and now knows everything he needs to see. That's so many points. Is Paya going to overswarm here?
It could happen. Especially since he still has a Mage Torturer.
Right?
Has a Mage Torturer, has Coup de Grace, has Art of Terra Nova, could potentially get multiple Vernaseals, play them all in the melee row. That would be absolutely brutal, especially if PuzzleExpress hasn't set up his engines just yet. Or, well, hasn't set up his board yet for Vernaseal to take effect as well as Simlas.
Yeah, that's a lot of units. That is a lot of... Oh, boy. Paya now frantically working out exactly what the hand looks like as he's got all of the information needed, right? No point messing around any longer. Get those points on the board quickly. Kill that engine.
Yeah, at least it's a very nice kill. 3 times 3 gets rid of Brothans, and then another one for good measure.
Probably Furcart, right?
I would hope so. There we go.
And then playing, a little bit of extra value as well.
Changes the symbols. Nice. Yeah. Alright, so now you have to make use of the cards you have on the board while they're still there. You really do. So I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I would be surprised. I'm not sure which is the correct card to go because any card you play is now a target for your next Coup de Grace or Arte Terra Nova. And you really have to take that into account.
Yeah, that's one of the scary things about this, right? You've always got to bear that in mind. The Simless obviously instantaneously being changed means it can't be re-grabbed, but it's all going to be about card ordering now.
Yeah, and you can see Pajabol is clearly thinking through this right now. You want to have assimilate cards on the board, but you also don't want to play one too early. Like holding on to that Mage Torturer just a little bit longer could make all the difference.
Completely. Wouldn't be surprised to see an Ointment here, to be honest. Okay, it goes for that value instead. Playing the Lydia here. Just as viable, I suppose. Can kill. Nice. Extra value. Swings himself back ahead. Still has that Truffle unclicked as well.
I mean, yeah, it's looking rather bleak here for PuzzleExpress, though I might be getting ahead of myself.
It's definitely going to be a close one. It is definitely going to be a close one. It might come down to those Verno pings being as efficient as possible, and well, I guess we'll find out. That makes sense. Deny the bleed.
The problem here is Pajabol has a guaranteed steal here, whether it be Vernasil or whether it be Isengrim. He can decide to keep Coup de Grace and the Mage, or he can decide to keep Arte Terranova and the Mage. And he's going to be able to set up one of those, and it's going to be absolutely deadly. Because next comes the Elf on the right from PuzzleExpress, and then Pajabol...
Yeah, it would make sense.
Yeah, Pajabol either commits Arte Terranova or commits Coup de Grace. But the next one is up for grabs. And there's nothing PuzzleExpress can do about it, because Pajabol has last say.
Yeah, and that's absolutely huge. Whichever way around he decides to go, play just drops the coup here to try and reduce the value. He's ahead by 10 already, and just says, you know what? I'm going to drop the coup. I can still do this the other way around with Arte Terranova. Now the question is, which way round do you do it? It's got to be full leader into Isengrim, right? Because it's the weak... No? Okay.
And kills one. Now, of course, I bet you I know what's gonna happen next. Yeah, so you...
Yeah.
It's gonna be closer than we think, but I want to say Pajabol takes this.
You know what? I'm not even here to guess.
Let's
I'm
not
not
say
even
it.
here to guess. This is more points than my brain has any interest in calculating, and he wins it by 3.
Well played, Pajabol, going through to open a number 2. Very well done.
The legendary.
Yes.
Wow.
PuzzleExpress,
That was a
close game. Very close game.
It really was, right?
Hats
Fair
off
play
to
to
both.
PuzzleExpress. Really pushed that, did an incredible job of pushing that and playing super well. Even that draw in Game 5, taking us to that Game 6. But Pajabol, was it ever in doubt? That is now,
Was close.
I think, one of the first times I've ever seen. Pajabol won all 10 series this weekend. Went 6-0 yesterday and has won every series today.
That's absolutely
insane. That is pretty
insane.
impressive.
Almost as impressive as winning 2 Masters.
Almost. It's almost as if he's actually pretty good at this game, right? But PuzzleExpress, not necessarily done yet. If he wants to book a place at the Open, well, he has got to get through Magpie in our second series.
Yeah.
Bans and coins coming through any minute now, and the game is just under 15 minutes away. So we'll have some time to quickly take a look at Magpie's decks and grab some water, stuff like that as well.